Hello, everyone. Hope you are well. Another week, another Friday. This episode today is going to be um, around meditation. So, um, this podcast and what I write is all about sharing ideas and exchanging these ideas with people and doing what we find useful and being able to elaborate and expand our thinking on these things. So I want to touch on meditation today because it's something that I'm interested in. It's something that I've tried. It's something that I know other people have tried as well. And I just want to explore it more. I'm not saying everything that I say in this podcast is going to be true or it's going to be the answer as such to effective meditation, but it's something that's becoming a lot more prevalent, and I just want to explore that idea even deeper and even further. So, again, my aim here is to share these ideas so that you can go away and try things that work for you. I try to remain as neutral as possible, but it's tough when you're passionate about these things. So, I'm open to hearing more points of views and more perspectives on it because it's only going to enhance my thinking as well. So I think where I'd like to start with meditation is that meditation should be viewed as a skill. It's something that you can't just do straight away. You have to practice it, and it's tough and frustrating, and then something or a part of it clicks one time, and you try and hold on to that. What was it that made that work that time? And it's just like learning an instrument or playing a sport for the first time and learning all the key fundamentals to it. I don't know the fundamentals. It's something that I think is very psychological. A lot around self acceptance, self assurance, letting go of control when you're doing it, which can be things that might contribute to it being successful, but I don't know if it contributes significantly or those are the key parts that contribute to it being successful. There might be lots of other things, and I'm sure there are as well. And I like to think of this as more of if we were to separate the physical body from the mental body, or our physical selves from our mind. And, there might be an element of meditation being training for the mind, but it's also just as much as exercise is physical therapy. It makes us stronger, it makes us fitter. I like to think that meditation provides us with that mental therapy, exercising our mind, making our mind stronger. And I like to think of it this way. Meditation over recent years has become a bit of a trend, and rightly so. There's apps for it. There's lots of different ways of doing it, some that we'll explore in this episode as well. And some that have worked for me, some that haven't, some that sometimes work for me, and sometimes they don't. And I think the most important aspect of this podcast is discussing and seeing what works for you, and understanding that this is a journey for meditation. So it's important to realize that you're not going to be amazing at it straight away. You're going to try it and try different things, and some things will work and some things won't, and some things will work and then they won't. So all I would say is just be open-minded about it and explore all the possibilities, because I've been on and off with it for a few years probably, and I still don't have a perfect solution. I'm still open to trying new things, but I can definitely say that it has helped me in a number of ways, mentally, and I'm excited to see how else I can evolve using meditation. I hope that analogy kind of works for you in that sense of splitting it from that physical into that mental side of things. And I think it is also important to recognize that it's not a cure for anything. I think it's something that can help us improve as human beings. So, yeah, and again, if you have any thoughts on any of those points, like I would love to hear that and discuss that, because that's what I enjoy the most. So yeah, I think we talk about this commitment and discipline, just like anything in life, being important to it, having that impact on us. And also, if we think of it as that physical therapy, when we exercise, we get those endorphins and we want to continue to improve. I think after you meditate, you still get that feeling of satisfaction where there's that achievement. And there are elements of in exercise where you feel that clarity. I definitely think with meditation, that clarity comes after the meditation. When you're in the meditation, there can be lots of different emotions and thoughts flying about, but afterwards, it's definitely something that gives you more clarity. Just a couple of methodical things now around meditation that I've heard about, I've tried, and what I would say I find useful. And there'll be lots of other things that are useful as well. So the time of day and the timing of it can be quite key. I don't know if routine helps. There's been times where I've found that it does help, and times where I felt like I've just needed it off the bat. So I think a common time to meditate can be in the morning when you first wake up. Getting that clarity before the day starts. You're not interrupted by anything, which is quite nice, and really probably helps with any anxiety or apprehension before the start of a day, particularly if you've got work that day that you're maybe not looking forward to. I can definitely see how that helps. It can bring peace to the start of your day. Sleep is, we don't decide what mood sleep puts us in. So meditation can almost be that neutral element that can help with that as well. I personally don't find it useful in the morning. I find I'm just too tired to do it properly in the morning, and I'm already pretty relaxed. Another time that I feel it can be beneficial is definitely after a stressful day, or maybe quite one of those days where you feel like you're frazzled, literally, like it's been non-stop and you've not even had time to think or breathe or have a drink or anything. So those are times where I find it useful. If you think of your whole day, you've been absolutely on it, and then you just take even like 5-10 minutes to just focus on your breathing. It can be so grounding, and that can be really useful as well. I've found anyway. Personally, I found meditation to be most effective just before I go to bed. So this is time to reflect on the day, to think about the following day, to reflect in general. If you haven't had time during the day to do so. And I've also found that helps with my sleep. So by focusing on my breath before I fall asleep, I think helps with my quality of sleep overall. So I do definitely feel better rested, clearer after a night's sleep or meditating before I go to sleep. So those are just some of the times that I've explored. I would be really interested to hear if there's any other times that people feel like they've meditated and it helps. For example, lunchtime. Like, I've never done it at lunchtime, but I'm sure that's a time that can be effective for some people as well. Now, what I'd like to look a wee bit at is the depths of meditation, and what happens during it, what's right, what's wrong. And this is so important because it's not a thing. There is no right thoughts, bad thoughts. The most important thing here is that you're just neutral. You are just neutral, not judging any thoughts, anything that goes through your mind, because it's almost like your mind is sorting out everything that's going on. You need to let that happen. And for me, the most important thing here is to just focus on your breath. Now, this doesn't happen, you can't do it the entire time. It's really important at the start to do that, but there's going to be times during the process that you fall away into thoughts, into deep thoughts, and when you realize and have that awareness, then you bring it back to your breath again. That, for me, is my one piece of advice for meditating. If you do it, start by focusing on your breath and then just go with it. And if you find yourself falling away, just come back and focus on your breath. That has been the main thing that has helped with any neutral meditation and non-judgmental element of it. Accept the positive thoughts, accept the negative thoughts, and again, like I was saying earlier, it just sorts everything out. You might have moments of clarity after it on something that's been frustrating you for days, if not weeks, if not months. And it's, don't get me wrong, it's honestly one of the toughest things to do, to remain neutral here, because I think one of the toughest things in life mentally can be to understand your present circumstances, understanding exactly where you are at right now and accepting those, being able to be uncomfortably truthful with yourself without judging it is very tough psychologically to do. And I think if you can handle that, or even get close to handling it, you're going to be more successful than a lot of people. I've talked a lot about self-acceptance in the past, self-assurance, and yes, there's lots of things that we can do for that, but the uncomfortable truth is the ones that you battle with yourself. So being able to accept yourself and being comfortable with being alone with your own thoughts, with nobody else there, is a tough thing to do. So I think it's important that before you meditate, that you ask yourself that question: are you comfortable being left alone with your own thoughts during this time? Are you assured enough of yourself? Do you accept everything that you are enough to then go into this alone with your own thoughts? And this can be a tough thing to do. It might be that you're very content with your life and you don't think about things that might be perceived as being a weakness, because you maybe want to avoid those, which everybody has. Everybody has those areas that they want to avoid thinking about because it makes them think that they're not, it doesn't help their self-worth. So I think it's important that you ask yourself that question before you meditate, but I can guarantee you one thing: that you will be more self-accepting afterwards if you can go through that. You'll be more assured of yourself. Even if we look at the simple concept, well, it's not a simple concept, but simply the topic of anxiety, a lot of that can come from, that self-assurance and being comfortable with ourselves. So how many of us do actually, spend that time analysing ourself in those circumstances? Now, the last thing I'd like to explore is a slightly different element of meditation. And you might have heard of it before, you might not have, but it's called guided visualization. Now, guided visualization is a form of meditation and is where you have someone talking to you and asking you questions about what you want. You can almost think of it as touching on the aspect of the law of attraction. So being able to ask yourself, are you where you want to be in life, with your job, with your relationships, with your health? And I personally found this very useful at a time of need. It asked me the questions in such a direct way that I had to come up with an answer, instead of dillying and dallying around things that I maybe wanted or maybe thought I wanted. And repeating this day in, day out provided clarity for me, questioned my thinking, and ultimately got my thoughts in line and in shape to make the actions and to take the actions and to behave in a way that I wanted to get to where I wanted. And I'm going to be honest, I thank that as a very good reason for being in the career that I'm in now. Even though I didn't know it existed at the time, by constantly having that ambition on my mind, as well as getting really clear on who I was and what I wanted to be, led me to finding this career and this job. So I'm very thankful for that. I don't do it as much as I used to anymore, but I still find it useful. On top of that, I think it helped me understand my purpose. So if finance wasn't a thing, my wage or the money that I make, if that wasn't a thing, if I didn't have to worry about that, what would I do? What if I didn't need to prove who I was to anybody else? What would that look like? What would that be day in and day out? And that was so important for me, especially when, progressing through that transition in my career, which was really good. And it touches on elements of the law of attraction, like I've touched on before. Now, I think there's lots of different things with the law of attraction that are good, but I don't think it's something to wholly rely on. There's nothing in life that is, one thing that's going to fix everything. It's not a quick process. It's not going to be pain-free. So I think there's elements of the law of attraction that are really useful to help with our confidence and our clarity and our purpose. But I think it's important also not to get carried away and solely rely on that as well. Now, the last thing that you can do that I've heard of, I've not tried it, is purely meditation with no help. So simply just finding a seated or lying position, having no headphones in, nothing around you, and just sitting there. Now, this is probably the most natural yet extreme form of meditation, and being disciplined with it would be tough, but it's something that I'm sure will provide you with a lot of clarity. So again, for me, I want to share all these ideas with you, provoke your thought, provoke my own thought, and hopefully that helps. So thank you for sharing ideas with me. Thank you for listening. And again, if this helps you become clearer with anything or try something, like, I would love for you to share that with me in a way that we can have more conversations and delve deeper into these sort of ideas and concepts. So thank you for that. And I'm loving this and enjoying it, and I just want to continue that as well. So I hope that's been useful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. See you later.